I'm sure it doesn't matter that that my bit was missed out. So sorry about that. Sorry to interrupt you, Keith. Carry
No,
on.
no problem at all. Okay, right. Taking this basic biological knowledge, which is one of several major advances we've made as a result of the data you've collected over the last couple of years, we've now converted this into a prediction model that uses this variation of the soil characteristics across the field to identify areas which are at higher risk of hosting these slug patches. And so the aims of this year's work is to conduct the initial field tests of the prediction model to see how it performs, to test the use of data derived from soil scans as input drivers for the model. Obviously, it is a non-starter to take a lot of soil samples, as we've done in research across the field, and use that to predict the locations. So we want to see if we can reuse the kind of ECN scans and TerraMap scans which Clive and others collect in order to drive the model, and to use the findings of this year's work to further develop the model, improve its both its accuracy, but also, and very importantly, to start making sure that the way it is used is commercially viable and convenient and right for farmers. This year we'll have two different styles of experiments. In one or two farms, we'll carry on with the old hectare plot experiments, or a scaled down version probably of those, which most of you are familiar with at the moment. But the major focus, and what I'll be talking about now, is a design based on a series of transects. So if you look at the diagram in the bottom left there, that is a kind of a stylized oblong field with curvy corners. We will run the model. When you run the model, you find that it will identify areas that are higher risk of patches forming in them, and other areas between those parts where there is a much lower risk of patches forming, and we don't expect there to be anywhere near as many slugs. Now, in that diagram, the red circles indicate these high risk areas or higher risk areas for slug damage. Within those higher risk areas, of course, there is a degree of stochasticity in where the patches form, because there is, and I've talked about this before, but in a nutshell, there are 5 different behavioral responses which occur when 2 slugs meet in a field, which results in them going round in circles. That increases the local density, it increases the likelihood of another slug meeting those 2 slugs, and they join that patch formation, and gradually the patch forms. Now, because they have to have this random chance of 2 slugs meeting, where within those high risk areas the patches actually form is a little variable, and you don't expect high density patches across all the high risk areas, but that's where they will, we think, occur. And so the target of the model is to say, okay, let's identify the high risk areas, separate them clearly from the lower risk areas, and it's the high risk areas that we'll treat. To do this, the design is to use transects, which as illustrated, span those high risk and low risk areas, and to take slug assessments and soil samples from those to test what the model is doing. To make it doable, we want to try and get a maximum of 4 transects per field, with a maximum of 10 traps per transect, and so there'll be no more than 40 traps in any field. Tom has charged me or threatened me with dire consequences if I go to 41 traps or more. Once those transects are set up, we will also take 20 soil samples spaced evenly along those transects. In short, there will be 1 soil sample for every second trap you come across. Now, the full protocol is in the handbook, which Skye and Laura and colleagues have produced. I think I've got the right picture there. If not, I'll be in trouble and Tom will correct me, but that's where the detail is. Next slide, please. and final slide this is. That's it. Okay, so the outline of the approach is as follows. Clive, in many cases, already done actually, but will produce a soil scan that he will convert into, using some kind of magic, which I don't understand, into the measurements of the percentage sand, percentage silt, percentage clay, organic matter, and pH at a huge number of points, all covering the whole field. This data will be sent to us, and we will run our predictive model to produce a risk map. And the risk map is fairly simple. There's one to the right, which was used from historical test data. And there, the red areas are the areas at risk of a high level of slug activity occurring. The blue areas are the lower risk areas where there are likely to be fewer slugs. And it is the red areas which we want to target in particular with the pesticides. Once that's done, we set out the transects. Now those transects are randomly placed there, but you'll see the idea that they span the high and the low risk areas. Now, there they are, as I say, randomly spread across the field. What Clive has suggested and what we are trying to do is that he's giving us an indication in each field where the main access point is, and wherever possible, we will make those transects as close to the access point to ease and reduce the amount of walking about in the field you have to do. But that is limited by your soil, effectively. It is limited by where these high risk areas actually are. On the right, there's a little diagram which just explains in more detail, just shows one of these transects. You can see the red high risk area and the blue high risk area in that chunk. The transect centers on the boundary between the two, and there is no trap on the boundary. But if you go north on that diagram, for example, you see that about 10 meters from the boundary, there's trap 1, then trap 2, another 10 meters in, and so on. And the same happens on the other side of the boundary. You go 10 meters from the boundary into the red area there, and you have trap 1, another 10 meters, trap 2, and so on. And you end up with your 10 traps. So don't worry about there being a larger gap in the middle of that. That's just to account for the gradation of the soil change across the boundary. Once those are set up, we take one soil sample from every second trap in that in that transect, and therefore we get 20 soil samples from precisely defined trapping nodes very early in the experiment. Those soil samples are returned to us at Harper Adams. Boffin guys, colleagues will be organising that, and we'll start analysing the soil samples to give another set of data for the soil characteristics. Why are we doing that and not just relying on the on the scans? It's nothing to do with us having any doubt at all about the accuracy of the scans. What it simply is we wanted a set of data using our laboratory techniques which matches precisely what we the data or style of data we built the models on. And so that allows us to really make sure that we know what's happening and how these two different sources of data are interacting with our model. And it'll enable us potentially to develop it further and just tweak the coding to make it better. Once we've got those soil samples, we need 5 slug assessments at approximately weekly intervals. The slug assessments are very easy. As before, you just go to the trap, you pick up each trap, you count the number of slugs that are either on the undersurface of the trap or are on the soil under the trap. You record that in the Boffin app, which you've heard about, and more we said about that by Sky later, and then you just replace the trap where you found it. Job done for that one, onto the next trap. As Tom has said, we would like one experimental application of pellets put to the high risk areas, leaving the lower risk areas untreated. However, again, I won't repeat it, but as Tom has explained, there is provision for a kind of an emergency pellet application if your field is too much of a risk at any point, even at the beginning, then an emergency application of pellets across the whole field can be put on. Finally, data is recorded and submitted on the Boffin app, which Boffin colleagues have developed. It's worked beautifully from our point of view at the end, so I'm looking forward to receiving some equally high quality data from it. Tom, will that do for the time being?
Yes, absolutely, Keith, and thank you very much for that. But by the way, just to define the number of traps, I think we're aiming for between 40 and 50. So it's going to be either 4 or 5 transects. Is that
It is. What I will
depending on
do,
how many patches in your field?
yes, it depends on how the size and the number of patches and their arrangements in the field. But I will wrap myself on the knuckles if I go a single trap over the 40 in any one field, and you'll know from my kind of wavy handwriting that I have wrapped my knuckles when I write and apologise to the people involved.
Right. Well, I think I mean, what I think we'll say for those on the call here today is we'll obviously try to keep it to 40. But if you can do 50, then I think that would be reasonable. And at every other trap location, you take a photograph. The soil samples are taken by Clive, sorry, when he comes round, but he'll be taking at the same locations as you'll be taking the quadrat photos. And then the only other point to bring up is, as Keith mentioned, some farms will be asking to do a grid again. It won't be the full hectare grid that we had last year of 100 traps, and I think it's likely to be 50 traps, if I'm right there, Keith.
Yes, it might be one or two fewer because 50 don't conveniently divide into an equal size square. So
Yeah.
you may have a bonus there even.
Right. And the reason for that is it may be that we're unable to generate reliable maps for one or two farms. We won't know until we've finished generating all of the maps, basically. But those farms where we can't give you a reliable map, then we'll go back to the hectare grid. But we'll talk to those individual farmers as and when. I'll hand over to Sky now to talk through the app.
I just wanted to see if you wanted to answer the 2 questions. I think we've got the immediate ones.
In the chat. Oh, Charles, sorry, yeah, we've got hands up.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, just Keith, how will we decide when the experimental application of bait will be applied?
Right. I think normal farm practice is what we were talking about, isn't it, Tom? That if you would go out and decide that you needed to apply, then that's the point to apply the experimental application. If it starts getting on and we haven't heard one's been applied, I guess we'll have to stimulate it. Tom, you're the farmer. We've got to make this realistic.
Yes, well, I think I'm aware that a lot of you will, especially at the start of the season, apply a blanket application to your field as a precaution, and you will hopefully, I mean, obviously one shouldn't apply slug pellets unless you reach threshold levels, but you'll know that at some point in the season you will have reached the threshold levels, which is why you apply the pellets. So if that is your usual practice and you can justify it from previous experience, then please go ahead and do that blanket application, and preferably at the start of the season. We're not asking you to put your crop at risk too much as through the course of the trial, but thereafter we'd like you to be guided by the actual high risk zones, and only apply pellets in the high risk zones if your monitoring suggests that you need to apply it. And because you will be monitoring your crop through that high risk zone, in the autumn, you should get a good idea of whether threshold levels are being reached. Equally, if you look at your field and you look at the conditions, you think, I'm going to get slugs, then please go ahead and treat. Please just treat in the high risk patches. If you feel, no, I don't trust the model, I'm going to go back to my usual practice, I've got to apply more blanket applications, then we're not asking you to put your crop at risk. Please do get in touch with us and let us know that that's what you're doing. But if at the end of the day you think, no, my crop's at risk, I can't afford to do just the high risk areas, I'm going to blanket treat the whole field, that would be your decision. But we'd like you to do that as a last resort. And as there is a payment of an extra payment of 500 if you do just apply to the blanket areas. And just to qualify there, if you do just apply to the high risk areas, and just to qualify there that you can put one blanket treatment on and still get that £500. So hopefully that answers the questions on that.
And then I think there was one more from Tom Jewers.
Can I just add one thing before we go in? It's very quick. What I haven't said is that the model has different settings depending on how risk averse you are. And for the first field which we've done so far, we've set it at a reasonably kind of a low risk attitude. What we're saying is we've set it for a risk averse attitude. So in some fields you may find that there's a lot more red than you expect. Don't worry about that. That's because we've got a risk averse setting. We can then take your data and we can remodel and test all the settings, but the risk averse setting was to reduce the risk to your field as well during the experimental process.
Great. Tom.
Yeah, sorry, my question was a bit specific because I recognised the field on your slide, Keith, but presumably the transects only go on the wheat crop, because actually on one of those transects will actually go across into some winter bird food cover. But do they, who actually sets them out? Does somebody comes and sets them out in the first instance?
Yeah, well, I believe in Clive's field, it's Clive who sets them out. There is a degree of flexibility which is in Clive's hands, whereby if for reasons which aren't shown on the information I've got to set the map, they need to be moved, we can adjust them.
Yeah, okay. You can adjust it in field at the time if we haven't sent you that information previously.
Yeah, and again, it's Clive can give us a call, we can discuss it, and we've got to have a degree of common sense in this as well as having the experimental rigidity. And you realise you've destroyed at a stroke our confidentiality approach. I didn't know who the field was from. I was just given a blind data set there. Good to meet the farmer then.
Yep. Yes. Gosh, I hope that meets our data principles. But I suppose we did keep it confidential. I don't think I have to go back to the ethics committee about that one. Yes. If we haven't got any other questions at this point, I'll hand over to Sky.
Yeah, fab. I'll just share my screen. So we are looking at the Boffin Trialist app. I'm just going to spend the next 10 minutes or so introducing you to it and hopefully guiding you through installing it for the, sorry, I'm just going to make it a bit bigger. We hope this will be kind of the one-stop call for data collection within the project. So first off, I just wanted to go through some of the reasons we've decided to develop our own app in the first place, because we're so aware that there's many apps and websites and pages and resources within agriculture already, all claiming to be better than the rest for data collection. So why bother with our own? I think first things first, Who wouldn't want to see more of the beautiful boffin pink branding over an app? Because I would. But also having an app designed by us means that we can tailor it to export data and hold data in the exact way in which we need it to. It also makes it really easy for us to track farmer progress on various tasks without having to always reach out to you and pester you. But there's 3 key reasons I wanted to delve into just a little bit deeper. So the first reason I'll go into is that having to collect a lot of data over a long period of time can be difficult to manage. And from feedback from most of you, to be honest, we know the resources previously offered have just not quite been fitting for what we've needed. So we've designed this app to ensure data collection and storage is as easy as it can be, simple to complete and safe to store. The second reason, again from farmer feedback, was suggestions that due to the quantity of data needed to be collected, it was sometimes difficult to stay on top of the various deadlines. And none of the apps or resources that we were using managed to solve this problem for us. So we've created this app with this in mind, creating clear and simple checklists with notification reminders for each of the tasks needed to be completed as part of the project. And then the final reason that I'll go into briefly is that as part of each of the project that we're involved with as Boffin, we like to make sure that we supply farmers with plenty of resources that they can use to complete their trials and learn more about the different techniques, skills and technology that is being used within the project. So this can be a problem when these come in different forms or across various platforms, and it can be hard to manage or remember where all of them are. So through this app, we're providing one area that you'll be able to find all of the resources relevant to the project. So what will we be using the app for? As part of your involvement in slimers and slug-resistant wheat, you'll have various tasks that you need to complete along the way. And when you're in the app, you'll be able to see all of these tasks within your progress checklist that will look something like this. A lot of the tasks will require you to collect and enter data relevant to the trial that you've got on your farm, and all of the data entry will be in the style of a form that will look a little bit like this. This checklist also has a progress bar. So every time you complete a task, it will add points to your bar to help you stay on track and see how close you are to completing that. Through the app, you'll also be able to view all of the project resources as mentioned previously, and they'll be in one place to make it really easy for you to find any guidance or support documents that you need for completing the trial. You'll also have access to the various discussion forums and groups that we have in place in order for you to exchange knowledge or ask questions to other trialists, interested farmers and project partners. And this is a really important part of your involvement, and it's crucial to collecting your project ambassador points. So make sure to share lots of updates and pictures as the trial goes underway. So how can you start to use the app? My very useful assistant Laura is about to send a link into the Sleuth chat. There it goes. I hope everyone has received that. If you're not able to access WhatsApp, if you can just put a message in the chat, Laura will send you a text with that link now. Okay, so if you open that link on your phone, it should come up with a website that will show a screen that looks like this. We're just going to check first of all. I can't see everyone, so if I need to slow down, someone's got to tell me. When everyone's got it open, the first thing to do is just check that the app's recognizing that you're online. So you can see here that it's got a green circle, and this just means that it's recognizing that. If it hasn't done that, you can just refresh the page and it should turn green.
Can I just, it's Laura, have you put a link in the chat?
Yes, yeah, I have. Hopefully everyone can see that. It's on the WhatsApp. Sorry.
Yeah.
On the WhatsApp chat, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's because everyone needs to use
Do it on their phones. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to appear non-technical, but I'm pressing my link and it doesn't open. So I don't know if I need to do something different, do I? Everybody else having the same, or is it just me?
Mine's working.
Mine's all right.
Okay.
Could you resend it, Laura? Sorry to be a pain.
Yeah, of
just
course.
in case. Is that all right?
Yeah, of
Thank you.
course.
Please, thanks.
Hi, it's Stuart Hutchinson here. I've clicked on it. It's asking for login details.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I'll just wait for everyone to
Oh,
get
Sorry, I
to
was
the
just
same
looking,
point.
that was all. Because I presume
That's
it's
fine.
emailed.
Yeah,
Glad
we
you
won't
could
log
join
in
us,
just yet.
Stuart. And I'm conscious that you didn't introduce yourself earlier, like everyone else. If you'd just like to
Yeah.
very briefly introduce yourself now, that would be lovely.
Yeah, apologies. I've had other things going on in the background. No, I'm Stuart Hutchinson. I farm in County Durham in the northeast of England. We've been run on-farm composting for 20 odd years and increasing livestock numbers. So we've got high organic matter soils and hence a lot of soil life, and a lot of that is slugs. So we do have quite a lot of problems. Pellet,
Yep.
not just after rape, but pretty
Fantastic.
much rotation.
Thanks, Stuart. Is everyone ready to progress? Do you want to crack on then, Sky?
Fab. Okay, so the first thing that we'll do with this page is we will just allow the permission. So if you've got an iPhone, it's important that you do this first, because otherwise it's going to pest you. Sorry, it's bringing up my other meetings that are coming in. It's important that you do this first, otherwise it's going to ask you to do it every time that one of the services is done. So in order to do that, there will be an icon that looks like this or like this that's next to the URL bar. If you're on an Android, it's a slightly different situation for you. So when you have logged in and you go to use a camera service or a location service for the first time, you'll get a notification that asks you if you want to approve it for just this time or approve it for the site, and you can select approve for the site and then it won't come up again. But if you're on iPhone, if you click either this icon or this icon that's next to the URL just here, and then you can scroll down. Sorry, my slide doesn't have it. If you just scroll down, it will have accessibility settings, and then you can go into camera and location and press allow. Let me know if you have any difficulty doing that.
Hi, Sky. It's Stuart again. I've only clicked on the link and I can only get to the login page. That's
Yeah, so on that login page, are you on an iPhone?
Android.
Okay, that's fine. So Android, it will work for you when you log in. So this is just for iPhone users at the moment. It works a little bit differently, that part. Okay, so then, and now this is for everybody. We can now put the app onto your home screen so that it will work as a general app. So for iPhone users, again, you'll see this icon. If you click that, scroll down and you can add to home screen. I believe for Android users, there's three circles, three dots. If you click on that, again, scroll down a little bit and you'll see add to home screen. Okay, when you have managed to do that, you can close it down on the internet and go onto your home screen and open that app as you would with any other app. And this is how you can use it from going forward. And your login will be the email that we contact you on and the one that you provided to us as part of the project. And then your password will be your first name with the first letter as a capital, 2025 exclamation mark, as you can see in this example here. So you can just copy it, but with your first name. If anyone has any issues logging in, I'll give you a hand after. I can always give you a phone call or something to support you with that. But hopefully that should work for most of you and you should be able to get into the app.
I'm struggling, Sky, but that's my usual with me, isn't it? Will you help me a lot with? I can't get. I click on that icon, and then I've got hide distracting items, increase privacy option. I've got no download option.
Okay, I can. I'm happy to give anyone a call. That's
We'll do that. We'll do that offline.
Yeah.
Can we get this so it'll go onto my iPad? I'll then do WhatsApp on my iPad.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
iPad's better than the phone for collecting data.
Yeah, no, that's not a problem at all.
Thank you.
Fab. Okay, so just a note quickly about offline use. Once you've logged into the installed app while online, it will be available to use offline as long as you stayed logged in. So you can even close the app completely while logged in, and the app will remember your details and continue to work as normal with no need for an internet connection. And then any data you enter will be stored and sent to Boffin servers when you next have a good internet connection to your device. However, if you log out while offline, you won't be able to log back in again until you're next connected to the internet. The app will remind you of this and try to prompt you not to do so. But essentially, just make sure you always log in if you're going to be using it in an area that has no signal. Okay, so for now, you should be able to go into the app. You should be able to see Slimers. If you're doing slug resistant wheat, you should be able to see SRW, and you can spend a bit of time exploring that. Let me know if you've got any immediate issues. It's really important for us that this app works well for you and makes involvement in our trials easier. If along the way you've got any questions or concerns about absolutely anything, please do get in touch with me. I'm very happy to go through and kind of guide you through it a little bit more. Also, if you've got any feedback around the way in which things are laid out or displayed, or you think that there's anything that's missing from the app, let us know. It's the first year and the first set of trials that we'll be using this app for. So I'm sure there'll probably be things that we've missed along the way. And if you don't have my contact details, they're there on the screen for you. Get in touch with me whenever. I'm here to help you.
Great, thank you very much for that, Sky. Hopefully everyone is into the app and they're looking at the various forms and so on within that. Obviously, hopefully most of the forms will be self-explanatory, especially if you've used the Husk app previously. You'll recognize the sorts of things that you'll need to put in. What is actually absolutely brand new is this grid that we've introduced in the monitoring screens. And that is the that should reflect the transects that you'll have in your field when they come out. So you'll have, for example, a transect that with traps numbered A1 to A9, and then when you're entering the data into the app, then you'll use the grid from A1 to A9 to enter the slug numbers in those under those traps, and then B0 to B9 and so on as you go through the field is the plan. So it's probably a good idea to have a look through it, and then if you've got any questions or queries, to come back to Sky and ask any queries. But any we've got a bit of time for questions. I've got to shoot off, but shortly. But I think the rest of the team are happy to stay on for as long as you want people to. So anyone got any questions or queries about the app? Hopefully, Stuart, you've managed to get onto it now, and I don't know whether there's anyone who's struggling with their password yet to get in there.
Yeah, mine didn't work, but I've just realised I probably should be hacking into Reese's instead of. It's probably not a duplicate one, so that's my bad.
Yeah, because you'll be on the same because you'll be working on the same trial. We've kept it as one login, but you're more than welcome to both use different devices using the same login.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, we've developed the app so that
I couldn't get
John.
it downloaded, so I'll have to give one of you, Sky or Laura, a call once we get off the
Yeah,
call.
not a problem.
Great.
Thanks.
Yeah, we've developed it so that more than one user can enter information into one trial. You just have to be aware, of the way the data is stored. It's stored on your phone until you have an internet connection and can load it up. So, for example, if you were to do a whole load of do a trap reading, and then not load it up because you weren't on an internet connection, and then Reese was to come along and do exactly the same monitoring, that could be a problem. We wouldn't know which data set to believe, basically. But as long as you and Reese are just talking to each other, then it should be fine.
Yeah, hopefully we don't do it twice.
Looking good, Charles?
We've also got no projects found.
But you're on mute, by the way, Charles. Yep. Charles, we can't hear you. You're on mute.
Yeah, so you should have an app like that on your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you just go into it and away it goes.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm all teched up. Did it all by myself.
Yeah, I can get
Noted,
into-
Shona, about the lack of projects. I'll get that looked at as well.
Tom,
Thank
you were
you.
asking a question?
Yeah, no, same problem. No projects found.
Okay, thank you.
I can see the projects though when I've logged in, when I say login.
Was that Reese?
That's me, useful information on it.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, mine is this.
No projects identified for Shona.
But I'm on Reese's login, so that's how strange. Yeah.
I've got the same as well.
Hi everybody, it's Stuart again. I've got logged in, and I see one question is the elevation above sea level. There's a really good app called My Elevation, and that will tell you your height above sea level. So that's quite handy to use.
Oh, thanks for that, Stuart.
Thank you.
That was, sorry, did you say My Elevation?
My Elevation, yeah. There's a few different ones when you go on to the app stores.
Brilliant. No, thank you very much for that. By the way, that's a really good point, Stuart, and thanks for raising it. We do want to try and make data collection as easy as possible across our projects. We don't want you to have to go to all sorts of different places to gather the information just to stick into the app. And so if you've got any tips on where to get some of this information, like elevation above site or whatever. Another good site, by the way, is Soil Benchmark. I don't know if you've come across that site. It's a really, really good site. Do look it out. It's a new one developed by a guy called Tom Scrope and his colleagues. Really good one that gives you really good information about your soils. And we're talking to them about getting the information from that integrated into our app. We're a long way from that yet, but we're starting the talks. But we're really interested to know about any useful apps like that we can link with and help get data. How are we doing? It looks like everyone's sort of struggling to get in.
Is it My Elevation or My Altitude?
My Elevation.
Can't find that.
You say if anyone's had terra maps done, then you'll have an elevation layer on for wherever your trial field is, or each field will have an elevation layer on it.
Fab. Well, I'll go back and have a look at it, the no projects for Tom, Joas and Jonathan, and then I'll have a look at Reese's profile as well, just to check for you, Shona. Maybe if you just kind of refresh it from the website again, it will acknowledge that it's been done. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I found with the app when I've been trialing it is if it starts playing up, if you close it down and clear your cache and things like that, and then open it back up again, then that usually resolves it. Great. Well, we're just about at 9:30. I've got to disappear. It sounds as though everyone's just sort of churning their way through it, haven't got any immediate queries at the start. So unless anyone has got a burning question or wants to come in with a question or a query or a comment or anything, then we'll draw this meeting to a close. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and thank you as well for taking part in this project. It is an exciting time for this project. This is, we're actually putting into practice this new development, and you're the first people to use it. We hope it works. But obviously, it's whether it works and whether it's going to be usable, whether it's going to be commercial, will be very much up to your feedback. And we're very much relying on you to let us know how it goes, let us know how we can develop it so that it's better. We do want to develop this into a commercial service this time next year, in as much as it will, in as much as we can. And again, that very much depends on how you find it, whether we're actually doing our job properly and so on. So do please get involved and let us know how you get on. Great. Thank you very much, everybody. Good luck for the season. Let's hope it's kinder. This season's kinder than the last one. Couldn't be any worse, let's face it. Yeah, let's see how we get on. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.